Hey you, how you doing? It's Tim. Welcome to episode 6 in our learning series on how to take back your health. Here's the question. What's going on inside the minds of top achievers that cause them to make extraordinary breakthroughs both personally and professionally? My name is Tim Shurr, and I invite you to join me as we take a deep dive into the unconscious mind and discover how to transform your biggest dreams into a reality. Welcome to the How to Be Mesmerizing podcast. And your energy and your vitality so that you can feel great and feel more confident and in control when it comes to making dreams come true. Whether you're trying to transform your body or you're trying to transform your business or you want to transform your relationships, it requires energy. It requires passion. And if you're tired and you're not feeling good or you've put on a few extra LBs and it's slowing you down, then we've got to change that first. You always focus on what can we do to change our state, to change our energetic state. And we focus on eating healthy and breathing fresh, clean air and drinking plenty of water and putting lots of positive thoughts into our mind and creating an environment around us that makes us feel supported and inspired, and being out in the sunshine, being out in nature, right? All these good things that help you feel confident and motivated. That's what we need in order to feel good. And if you're not doing those things, if you're not getting good sleep, if you're not putting good information into your head, if you're not focusing your mind constantly on the outcomes that you desire and how to create the feelings that you want to have and how to feel those feelings, if you're not doing that, then you're on autopilot and you're just hoping that you're going to be okay. Right? And if we are not actively working towards this and we're not being intentional, then we're pretty much on autopilot. We're pretty much saying, whatever happens, I guess that's just how I'm going to feel. Whatever happens to me, right? That's how I'm going to feel. I guess the weather is going to determine how I feel about myself. I guess my spouse is going to determine how I feel about myself. I guess the chemicals and the hormones in my brain are going to decide how I feel for me, because I don't have any power if I'm not choosing to stand in my power. So if you do that and you go that route, which I have done at times, and just said, screw it, heck with it, just whatever happens. And I find that usually that's like driving down the road really fast and letting go of the steering wheel. You're just asking for accidents. You're just asking for things to go wrong. And so what we got to do is take control of the steering wheel, drive our thoughts in the direction of our goals and dreams, and then stay relentless and resilient until we make it happen. And then also, while we're in the pursuit of creating more excellence in our life, we got to make sure we're enjoying the journey so that we're having fun each and every day, instead of just saying, I'll be happy when. I'll be happy when I've lost the weight. I'll be happy when I've made more money. I'll be happy when my spouse gets off my case. I'll be happy when, the garage is finally organized or my closet is finally clean, which might not ever happen. Right? So instead, I'll be happy when my kids stop fighting with each other, right? And everybody gets along. I'll be happy when all my bills are paid. Well, a lot of times waiting for that is just like, it reminds me of Charlie Chaplin in his old black and white movies, where he would have his derby hat and he would bend over for some reason, the hat would fall off, and then he would go to pick the hat up, and while he went to pick the hat up, he would kick it. And then it would fly about 5 feet in front of him. So he'd walk over Charlie Chaplin style, and he would bend over to pick up his hat, and right when he went to pick it up, he would kick it again. And he just kept doing that. And that's what we do with our goals and our dreams. If we are not figuring out a way to feel happy while we go through it, then we're not happy, right? And if we think, well, I'll be happy when I finally achieve this goal, and you suffer all the way through it, by the time you get to the goal, you're not happy. You're frustrated, you're discouraged. A lot of times people say it wasn't worth it. I went through hell for this, I suffered for this, right? And then what happens is they tend to lose the momentum that they had. So if they lost weight, they gain it all back. If they made a bunch of money, they find a way to get rid of it just as fast. And so if they find a relationship with someone nice, they find a way to sabotage it, and then it just doesn't go the way they want. So we've got to learn from that, and we've got to do something about it, and we've got to be preemptive, okay? So how do we do that? Well, let's focus on our topic for tonight, okay? One thing at a time. So our topic for tonight is my number one mind hack for portion control. Because a lot of times people say, Tim, I love food. I love to eat. So one of my clients, Mel, he lost 70 pounds through our body and mind transformation program. He was a retired police officer, and he said after he retired, he just kind of wasn't as active as much, and he started packing on the pounds. He was Italian, right? And so Italians love to eat. And so it was all the pastas and cheesy breads and all the stuff that they make. And he said, I just love food and I love eating. And he was such a great guy. And so what we did was we started to change the way he thought. And I remember taking him on TV with me one time, and we were just doing a little interview to inspire people to believe that they can be healthy, especially people over 50, because most of the weight loss stuff that you see is 20 and 30 somethings out there, right, who have lost some weight, and that's exciting, that's wonderful, good for them. But it seems like if you're 50 or older, it's like, well, you're too old, you have hormone issues now, you're just, you know, you're past your prime. And I'm like, that sucks, no way, I ain't buying that. We have plenty of ability inside of us to be able to have a second childhood, right? To be able to take the second half of our life and decide what we want to do with it, because we spend the first half of our life working so hard just to try to figure out who we are. And so the second half of our life should be really enjoyed and not just a steady decline into the nursing home, right? Because, oh, I don't like that model at all. I think that we should be getting healthier and stronger as we get older, not falling apart. If you're with me, say amen, brothers and sisters. All right, so, okay, so Mel got on TV and Tracy asked him a question and said, so, you know, how'd you change your portion control, right, with, you know, eating so much? And what Mel said was hilarious. He says, well, I still love to eat. I just learned through Tim's program that I don't have to eat all the food anymore. I can just eat a little bit and feel totally satisfied and feel good. And so tonight I want to teach you what we did in Mel's mind to be able to cause that transformation so that you can do it too. Okay, so as I turn around, okay, so here's what we did. This, I've heard many different techniques that I've used over the years, and this one I believe came from a book from Connie Ray Andreas called Heart of the Mind. And it was a neurolinguistic programming technique where you use future pacing to jump ahead and notice how something's going to feel in the future, and then jump back into the present moment and decide, do I want that feeling or not? Right? So imagine that you could jump. There was a movie with Nicolas Cage. I can't remember what it was called, but he could jump like a minute into the future and know what was going to happen a minute before everything happened. So then, of course, he was always getting out of all these situations, and it was one of his action movies. And so I thought, wouldn't that be cool if we could do that? But instead of jumping a minute into the future, what we want to do is we want to jump 20 minutes into the future or 30 minutes into the future. And I usually use the metaphor of this. Have you ever had one of those Thanksgiving dinners? Thanksgiving is a holiday where everybody agrees to binge and then just overeat as much as they possibly can. Let's have a $5,000 or a 5,000 calorie plate of food or multiple plates of food, and then everybody passes out on the couch afterwards until it's time to eat pie. So then you got to guzzle a bunch of coffee so you can feel stimulated enough to put in a couple extra 1,000 calories worth of sweets, right? Sounds like fun in theory, but once you've gorged yourself, how do you feel afterwards? And so what I remember feeling is my stomach hurting and feeling exhausted and feeling like I'm just in this coma. And it's like, oh my God, how am I gonna get through? I had so much stuff I was gonna do. I wanted to accomplish all these things, and now I don't feel like doing anything, right? And so it would create all kinds of fatigue and brain fog, and then we would procrastinate, and then all that stuff we were gonna do with our valuable, precious time, all of it goes out the window because we don't feel like doing anything anymore. And so that's what happens when we eat too much. And usually people eat so fast, it's almost like we're in the military. And we got like 5 minutes to eat. So our food comes and we just eat so fast. People say, I love to eat. And most Americans don't love to eat, they love to shovel, okay? You go to France, you sit down, dinner's 2.5 hours. And it's with a plate that looks like it's an appetizer. And that's your entree, right? And it's all about the presentation, and it's about the flavors, and it's about the look, and it's about taking a bite and taking 10 minutes to savor it, right? And then have a sip of water, have a sip of wine, and then laugh with friends, and you just create the experience. Like in Brazil, they don't have paper cups for coffee. Like in Starbucks, they don't have that. They have glass cups, I guess you call it, glass cups, right, for coffee cups. Because coffee for them is about sitting down and having a conversation. Not us Americans. We're always on the go. We always have a million things we have to do. And we're always trying to get somewhere thinking we're supposed to be somewhere else. And so we got coffee cups and cardboard boxes and we're eating out of fast food. And you can see the rates are disastrous. So in Indiana, we're like one of the unhealthiest states in the whole 50 states, right? I mean, it's really bad. And so we got to make sure that we are taking back our health, right? And so what I find is that we sit down and we eat super, super fast, and then we finish our plate, and sometimes we'll feel still hungry. And it's because it takes 20 minutes for your stomach, the second brain center in your body, it takes 20 minutes for your stomach to send signals to your brain to say, hey, I am full and satiated, right? So satiated, I am full and satisfied. I don't need to eat anymore. It takes 20 minutes for that. Well, what happens if it only took you 10 minutes to eat it all? You think you're still hungry, even though your stomach is full. So then we have more bread. We have dessert. We have another plate full of food. And then by the time the 20 minutes is up, it's too late. We've already overdone it. And then what do we got to do? We got to wear stretchy pants, right? We got to unbutton the top button. Oh my gosh, right? We got to loosen our belt. We got to start wearing suspenders instead of a belt as we become more round, as our belly slowly hangs over our belt. And that's not good, because if you got a belly that's hanging over your belt, or you look like you're pregnant and you're a man, that's not good. That means you're just asking for heart disease. You're just waiting for that triple bypass. That's so much fun. And then you can pig out while you're in recovery. So it is madness, and we need to knock it off. And so, because that's not just affecting someone like, well, I'm not hurting anybody because I'm 300 pounds. Yeah, you are, because you're wrecking the whole healthcare system, right? It's not just what you're doing. All us taxpayers have to cover that. And you can't even get in to see a doctor or a specialist. It takes 3 months. Hey, my head's gonna fall off. I got brain cancer. Okay, we're gonna get you in to see a specialist. It's gonna take you 3 months. Because it's so jacked up, because people are not taking care of themselves. People are just finding more excuses to forget about it, okay? To ignore it, to pretend that it's not that bad, and it is that bad. And so, anyway, I'm going on a little rampage here, but I just want to make sure that you know how important it is that we take charge, because this affects you, and it affects me, and it affects everybody else around us as well. So, all right. So if we know that we're eating too much because we're eating too fast, then here's the mind trick. What you're going to do is you're going to think, how is whatever I eat, whatever I put into my pie hole, whatever I'm about to put in my face, how is that going to make me feel half hour from now? That's it. That's the technique. How is it going to make me feel a half hour from now? And then your goal is to notice how foods make you feel a half hour from now. Okay? So if you go eat a big deep dish pizza and have a Diet Coke or a beer, notice how it makes you feel half hour from now. You're not going to be on that bike with all those bikers. Okay? You're going to be on the couch complaining about how tired you are all the time, because you're eating all that crap, right? Putting all that cheese, all that dairy, all that bread into your stomach, and then it just sits there and ugh, right? Turns into dough. You are what you eat, okay? So you want to make sure to think about, how am I going to feel half hour after I put this stuff in my belly? Because when you take a bite of pizza or whatever it is, you're only going to taste it for like 10 seconds that it's in your mouth, and then the tasting part is over. Then it's all in your body. You're not tasting any of that. Now your body has to be like, what am I supposed to do with this? You put literally a pound of mozzarella cheese in my stomach. What am I supposed to do with this? You'll be lucky if I even get it out of you. Okay? Refer to episode 4 when we talked about poop. So again, we want to make sure that we are focusing on what we're going to do, or how we're going to feel when we're about to eat something, right? So, all right, so here's the thing. We're gonna eat something, we're gonna think about how this makes us feel, and then we're gonna notice how it makes you feel. And then the next time before you eat that thing, you kind of remember, all right, that made me feel tired, it made me feel procrastinated, it gave me acid reflux, it gave me a bunch of gas, it made me feel bloated, right? I didn't feel like doing anything afterwards. And then what you do is you jump to that uncomfortable feeling. See, when people are like a drug addict, when a drug addict is really caught up in the addiction, they're not thinking about all the pain that it's going to cause. All they're thinking about is the pleasure they're going to have in that moment, that instant gratification. And that is immaturity. Now, I understand with physical addiction, there's compulsion there, and you know, your brain chemistry is messing with you, and it's not just a psychological or emotional thing. So I totally get it. There's definitely a physiological thing involved with this, okay? However, there is also an emotional part of it to it that everybody neglects to talk about, because you know, we want to make it seem like people are powerless, and that is going to keep people powerless. You have to own the situation. That is the only way you can take charge. In Alcoholics Anonymous, they say, yes, you are powerless when the alcohol is inside of you, but you are powerful until the alcohol is inside of you, and you've got to stand in that power. You've got to take charge in that situation so the alcohol does not enter your body. And the same is true for the food. So a lot of times people say, well, I just eat it because it tasted good. Yeah, but you're 60 pounds overweight and you're complaining about being tired all the time, and you have zero sex drive, and you hate wearing clothes because you look baggy and people get out of camera, and you hide because you hate the way you look, and you're emotionally abusive to yourself because you're always talking about how bad you look and how horrible you feel and how your feet hurt all the time and how you're not sleeping good because your back hurts. Do you remember any of that when you go to shove this cheesecake in your face? And most people will say, no, I don't think about that. And it's because they don't want to think about that. I mean, this comes right out of my client's mouth. I'm not making this stuff up. This is thousands and thousands of clients who have said all this stuff to me. I don't think about it in that situation. And then when I help those people lose weight, you know what they say? I always think about what I'm going to eat first. I always pay attention to what I'm going to put in my mouth. And so we've created a new level of awareness. A new level of awareness. Now, if you're struggling, if you're like, I'm aware of this, but I can't get myself to stop, there's probably more emotional issues that we've got to work through. That's why you join our live coaching groups. That's why you go through the Body and Mind Transformation virtual course if you're on a tighter budget. That's why you do one-on-one coaching if you want the best possible results, because we're going to have to work through some of those emotional issues. But at least you know what it is and you can work through that. But for most people, you can use this mind hack. So let's go through it again. You think to yourself, how am I going to feel 30 minutes before or 30 minutes after I eat this food? Am I going to feel energized? Am I going to feel inspired? Am I going to feel motivated? Am I going to feel proud of myself? Am I going to feel like I'm moving towards my healthier goals? Or am I going to feel like what I wanted just got pushed farther away? Am I going to feel tired? Am I going to feel uncomfortable? Am I going to feel guilty? Am I going to feel frustrated that I did it again? What's wrong with me? How come I have no willpower? Why does this, why can't I ever follow through? And all that mentally beating up on ourselves. So if you think, now they teach this in kindergarten. Think before you talk. Think before you act. We were taught this in kindergarten. Sometimes we just have to go back and be brilliant in the basics, okay? In kindergarten, they say, think before you act, because you want to think about what consequences are going to come up. So we're just going back to the beginning, and we're thinking about how we're going to feel before we put the food in our body. How's it going to make us feel physically, energetically, emotionally, psychologically, spiritually, right? That's what we're focusing on. And if you focus on that, then you're going to find that it'll be like, all right, I don't want to feel tired. What else could I eat instead? Now, I've always talked about there was alcoholism in our family. I'm high strung for anxiety. It's kind of how my brain is wired. I've got like this hair trigger. It's like a fire alarm in my head that gets pulled and there's no fire. And it's like it used to be a hair trigger, but I've been working on myself for years. And so now it's much harder to pull that fire alarm, but it still gets pulled. And so, with all the anxiety and alcoholism, and then of course all the diabetes in my family as well, I was wired for sugar, right? I wasn't born with a sugar tooth. I have a whole set of teeth. I got like sugar teeth, right? And so I've had to train myself to do this. I've had to train myself to think about, all right, if I'm gonna have that soda, every time we go through a drive-through, if I have that soda, if I have that Mountain Dew, or they have that, where were we at? I was at some drive-through restaurant, maybe I shouldn't say the name, but they had this new drink, and it was like supposed to be totally intense. And I said, what's in the drink? And they said it has 4 times the amount of sugar and 4 times the amount of caffeine of a Mountain Dew. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that sounds horrifying. Because you know people are buying that left and right, and every teenager and preteen that can get their parents to say yes is drinking that stuff. That is a bad idea. That is a recipe for failure, right? For disaster. And so I thought about how that would make me feel to have all that sugar and all that caffeine in my body, and I said no thanks. And the picture looks so good. It looks so good. The marketing is so good, but the marketing is what sucks us in, and you got to be careful because the marketing is never as good. The marketing is always better than the real thing. You ever see those pizzas? Any pizza, I don't care, Papa John's, Domino's, Pizza Hut, doesn't matter. On TV, it looks amazing. And then you order it and it shows up in the box and it does not look the same. Why? Because the pizza that you see on TV is not real pizza. It's food art. They have a whole industry on it. It is plastic and shellac and glue and paints and lighting. You can't eat the stuff that they actually show you because it's a prop. That's why when you get the pizza in the cardboard box, the real thing, it's like, this isn't what I saw on TV, okay? It's because you can't eat what you saw on TV. It would make you sick. And if you keep eating these pizzas they send you, it's gonna make you sick too. And so again, you know, I think about every single thing before I put it in my mouth. Now, I will tell you that 90% of the time, I'm like, no, I'll choose something else. But there is 10% of the time where I'm like, yeah, it's gonna make me a little tired. I'm gonna eat it anyway. And that's okay, right? Because I know what I'm getting into. And every once in a while, I'll eat something and then I'll get tired and I'll be like, man, why'd you do that? You know better. Because then I don't like how I feel afterwards. It wasn't worth the trade-off. And so you just gotta keep practicing in your mind, teaching yourself over and over to keep associating fatigue, discomfort, pain to the stuff that's causing fatigue, comfort, or discomfort and pain. You got to get clear, right? And that's what Mel did. He got clear. He said, that stuff makes me feel bad. I don't want to eat all that stuff anymore. It makes me feel bad. I can eat whatever I want. I'm just choosing not to eat that stuff anymore because it makes me tired and makes me feel bad and I don't want that anymore. And so this is what I do instead. Or I eat less, or I have one bowl, or I have one plate, or I fill it up, or I pre-measure, or I pre-weigh, and I have it already pre-packaged, or I buy a bunch of lean cuisines and then bags of frozen vegetables, and I just have it already measured out so that I don't have to think about it. It's mindless, effortless weight loss, right? Or healthy eating. And so that you can do that too, right? This isn't rocket science. It doesn't have to be hard. So just start thinking about the foods that give you energy and have them around and make them accessible. And the foods that make you feel tired, don't have them around as much and eat less. And when you are going through this process, you're gonna feel a lot more confident, you're gonna have a lot more energy, you're gonna find that it's easier to eat less because you feel more satisfied. You're supplementing the food with water. You might drink a full glass of water before you eat anything. If you have a meal, focus on eating the side salad or the vegetables first before you eat anything else, just to fill yourself up. Don't go for eating till you're full. Go and eat until you're satisfied, right? If you're full, you've probably eaten too much. If you're satisfied, that means that you've eaten just enough and you push away from the table with a sense of pride. Now, I've had some people that say, I eat all the time. I don't know when I'm full or hungry because I'm just always eating. Okay, great. Well, then what you got to do is just start to go with more portion control and be able to say, all right, I'm going to eat this much and I'm not going to eat anything else. If I want anything else, it's going to be water. And then if I feel like I'm still hungry, I'm gonna go for a walk around the house. You know, by the way, side note, Mel said that part of his program was walking around the house, and he walked around the house all the time because he didn't want to be dependent on the weather, which I thought was very clever, right? Because a lot of times people will give up and quit if it's like, it's raining, I'm not going for a walk, and they'll sabotage themselves. But when they say, hey, I'm going to walk inside, it doesn't matter what the weather's like, that's a very smart approach, because that way he was motivated. He could watch a movie, he could turn on the music, he was going upstairs, downstairs, all around the couch, and he just had these laps, and it was really smart. So if you just put a little thought into planning what you can do instead of being focused on what you can't do and what isn't working, because that will just demotivate you. So you got to keep focusing on what you can do and what is working, and what move you can make today, right? So I want you to start paying attention to how foods make you feel, and then eat slower, drink a full glass of water before you eat. Don't put all the food on the table, prepare yourself a plate, and then put everything else away. Just make smaller portions. And if you're like, well, I got a family and I got to make all this extra food for them and I got to make 2 different meals. No, you don't. Okay, what people say is they trick themselves into not having boundaries. Well, my kids won't eat this and my spouse won't eat this. Well, then they can cook for themselves. Me growing up, I ate whatever I was given, right? And if I didn't finish it, then I'd be sitting there all night until it was cold. And so we're just too soft a lot of times. We're like, well, I don't want them to get mad at me. What? Really? You need to get over that, right? You need to take care of yourself and set a good example for those around you, instead of letting them be the boss. You're the boss. You need to stand in your power and be the boss. So your kids should never be the boss of you, because they're children and they don't know any better. And your spouse, if they want to eat something different, they can do whatever they want, but you need to focus on what's going to be good for you. And so remember that, okay? So no more excuses. Spend more time on why you're going to make this work instead of all the time that we spend on why it won't. So if you have questions, if you have comments, make sure you leave them below, because I love your feedback. If you're like, no, this is totally wrong, I totally disagree, or if you're like, yeah, this is totally right, whatever it is, you just put the comments down below. Share this with your friends. Let's keep the conversation going. The whole secret behind getting results is keeping the conversation going, not hiding and being a recluse and not reaching out or connecting with people, because we need each other to be able to achieve our goals and make things happen. Very few people can do it on their own, even though most people think they're supposed to do it on their own or there's something wrong with them. And the only thing wrong is that belief. And so we need each other. So keep sharing, keep talking. Let's keep this going. Tomorrow night, we're going to be talking about another hot topic on episode number 6. And also remember the links down below for early registration. I even put payment plan option below now. So if you want to pre-register for our upcoming class on May 22nd, then make sure you click on the link below and check that out, because that's going to be an amazing live experience where I actually take you through the emotional conditioning experiences, which are really what makes all this happen. So if you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, thanks for going for a walk with me tonight. I appreciate you, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks so much. Have a great week. Make tonight a sure success. Bye.
Hey, would you like more free tips on how to be a mesmerizing leader? Then check out mesmerizingleadership.com, and also hang out with me on Facebook, facebook.com/Tim Shurr. Thanks so much, and make your day a sure success.